couldn't sleep. The city was humming outside our high-rise window, lights flickering like stars that refused to quit. Brielle was next to me, breathing soft and even. She always slept like a child, completely at peace. Me? My brain never shut off. I reached for my phone like I always did when sleep bailed on me. A message sat there from Victor, timestamped 1:12 a.m. Victor, you need to see this, brother. There was a video attached. I hesitated. Victor wasn't the type to send late-night nonsense, so whatever it was, it mattered. I tapped the clip. The audio was grainy, but the image was clear enough. A rooftop party I recognized immediately. Our launch party from 3 nights ago. The same one I bankrolled, from catering to the Skyline drone show. The same one where Brielle had kissed me goodbye after 1 glass of champagne, saying she wanted to stay a little longer and mingle with her media contacts. In the video, Brielle was holding court like she was born for it. She laughed in that fake, polished way that landed her clients and magazine covers. Surrounding her were a few junior associates from a fashion brand we just partnered with. She leaned in closer, wine glass in hand. "You'll see," she said, loud enough to rise above the rooftop jazz band. "I'm upgrading soon. I mean, Malik's been great, clueless but generous. Like really generous. The man thinks he's in love or something. Sweet. But I'm done babysitting a wallet." Someone off camera snorted. Another woman asked, "So you're still going through with the wedding?" Brielle tilted her glass up in a mock toast. "Of course. Last step before I collect. Timing is everything." The video cut off. I just stared at the phone for a while, like maybe I had heard it wrong. Maybe I missed a punchline. But no, it was her voice, her smirk, her words. Every damn one of them. I didn't feel heartbreak. I didn't even feel surprised. What I felt was clarity. Cold, precise clarity. Like someone had drawn back a curtain and shown me the blueprint of my own humiliation. And in that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to yell or confront her like some wounded husband-to-be. No, that's not how this would go. Brielle thought she was playing a game. She didn't know I'd been building games since I was 15, in code, in capital, in competition. What she didn't know yet was that the moment I saw that video, I stopped being her target. And she became mine. I put the phone down gently. My eyes were wide open now, and I knew sleep wouldn't be coming. Tomorrow I'd begin the work. The next morning, I got up like nothing had happened. Brielle was already in the kitchen, humming to herself in that overly cheerful way she did when she wanted something. She had on her pale blue robe, the one she always wore when she wanted me to see her as soft and wifely. She turned as I walked in, beaming like the world hadn't shifted overnight. "Morning, babe. You want your smoothie or coffee today?" I smiled. "Not too much. Just enough. Coffee's fine." She came over and kissed my cheek. "I might be a little late tonight. The hotel PR team wants a second run-through on the anniversary campaign." She rolled her eyes like it was all so boring. Can't trust interns with anything these days. I nodded, sipped the coffee she handed me. "You're doing a lot for them. Don't let them burn you out." That was all I said. I didn't ask who'd actually be at that meeting. Didn't mention the video. I just gave her the same calm she expected from me. After she left, I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the spot where she'd been standing. My mind had already moved on. At the office, I walked through the glass doors of my company's downtown building like always. Button down pressed, watch centered on my wrist, face unreadable. People smiled and nodded. A few looked away too quickly. Interesting. When I reached my floor, the front desk assistant, Naomi, usually all sunshine, barely made eye contact. "Morning, Malik," she mumbled, before pretending to type something urgent. That confirmed it. They'd seen the clip too. Victor hadn't been the only one with a copy. I walked into my office and locked the door behind me. I sat down and opened my laptop, not for emails, but for what came next. First, I reviewed every joint account Brielle and I shared. The wedding fund we'd created was the main one. She had access, but so did I, and I wanted to see just how much she'd been dipping into it. Next, I texted one of my cybersecurity consultants, someone who owed me a favor. "Need full digital audit. One personal device. Quiet. No trails. Possible spyware installation. He responded within seconds. When and where? Then I called Ava Kincaid, a discreet financial attorney I trusted. We hadn't spoken in months, but she picked up fast. I'm preparing a set of legal protections, I told her. Something airtight just in case my engagement unravels. There was a pause, then her voice. Do you want prenup revisions or asset shields? Both. And I want them executed silently. Assume high risk. That afternoon, I made contact with a private intelligence firm I'd used once before, the kind that didn't show up in any directories and took payments in crypto. Surveillance grade, clean, no loose ends. I asked for real-time monitoring and records of Brielle's calls, texts, and location tracking. The man on the line didn't ask why. He just said, send her number. You'll have your first report by the weekend. I hung up and stared out the window at the city skyline. Brielle thought I was blind. She thought I'd never see past her sugar-sweet smiles and soft lies. But now I saw everything, and I was about to make sure she never saw it coming. By Friday, the reports started coming in. The financial flags showed up first. Small things at first glance, transfers from our wedding account to a separate checking account Brielle had never mentioned. But when I traced that account, the picture sharpened into focus. She'd leased a condo. Not just any condo, a new high-rise overlooking Biscayne Bay in her name only. No mention of it in our conversations. No walkthroughs. No, let's live here after the honeymoon. Nothing. I pulled up the lease agreement from the real estate portal the private intel firm had scraped. Signed 6 weeks ago. Right around the time I'd wired an extra 50 grand into our joint account to cover surprise vendor costs. I stared at the screen for a long time. That condo wasn't for us. I forwarded the document to Ava, my attorney, and included a note, add to file. Flag as concealment of intent. Then I pulled open the rest of the financial summary, the one Ava's firm had compiled with alarming speed. Brielle had been moving funds gradually, always small enough to avoid detection. 3,000 here, 1,700 there. Descriptions vague, bridal prepay, vendor split, project reserve. Always justifiable. Always just on the edge of believable. But the destination accounts? Not ours. Her mother's name was on one. Another was listed under an LLC registered to an address in Santa Monica, a shell company. No real business, no real clients. Looks like she's setting up a safety net, Ava had said on the phone that night. Could be pre-divorce structuring. You want to freeze the wedding account now? Not yet, I told her. I want her to feel safe a little longer. I needed her to keep thinking I was still in the dark. That weekend, the spyware went live. It was installed remotely, piggybacked through a bogus bridal rewards app she downloaded after I forwarded it to her from a fake boutique email. 5 minutes after it hit her phone, I had access to everything. Call logs, GPS history, encrypted messaging, even the Notes app. And that's when I found the name, Laura Drake, divorce consultant. I looked her up. Hard hitter. Made a name tearing apart startup founders and tech execs in early-stage marriages, always on the bride's side. She even gave a TED Talk called How to Leave a Billionaire. Brielle had 3 Zoom appointments with her in the last 2 weeks. One had lasted almost 2 hours. There were notes afterward, assets, prenup loopholes. Delay filing. Secure soft exit. Target, 6 months post-marriage. 6 months. That's all she was planning to give me. I stared at those words until my vision blurred. I texted my CTO and told him to reassign 70% of my company shares to a secondary trust under my mother's name. Just a name on paper. Untouchable by Brielle or any lawyer she might send after me. The rest of my assets I began moving into separate holdings. Stocks and crypto off-ramps. Real estate transferred quietly into legal shelters. Brielle thought she was playing chess. She didn't know I played in sandboxes where people had far more to lose and far fewer morals. That night, while she curled up next to me and asked if I wanted to do a brunch tasting next weekend, I smiled and said, sounds great. And I meant it. Because every minute she kept pretending was another piece I moved behind her back. It didn't take long to find him. The spyware logged everything: texts, calls, locations. And Nico's name kept popping up. Always late at night. Always in that same overly familiar tone. He wasn't just a client. He wasn't just a colleague. He was the one. Nico Rivera. Fitness influencer. 200,000 Instagram followers, all abs and dumbbells and motivational quotes he probably stole from Pinterest. Brielle managed him through her firm. Publicly, it was business. Privately, they talked like they were already married. I read one of the texts over and over. Nico, once the prenup window closes, we're good. Just a few more weeks of pretending. Brielle, Malik's a robot anyway. He probably won't even notice until we're on a plane to Bali. They joked about me. Laughed behind my back. Planned a future using my money, my name, my resources. And every message was another dagger twisted in slow motion. But it wasn't pain anymore. That had burned out days ago. Now it was strategy. I tracked her GPS that Thursday afternoon. Her location pinged at Nico's gym in Midtown. According to her calendar, she was supposed to be lunching with bridal vendors in Coral Gables. I watched her dots stay stationary for an hour and 40 minutes. By then, I'd already told my driver to head toward the gym. The place was all polished concrete and vanity mirrors. Music thumped from inside, something heavy and rhythmic. The kind of soundtrack guys like Nico use to pump themselves up between protein shakes. I didn't text. I didn't call. I walked straight in, past the receptionist, some kid with earbuds in who barely looked up, and made my way toward the back where I saw the private studio doors. I pushed one open. Nico was there, shirtless, towel around his neck, holding a bottle of water like he'd just finished a shoot. Brielle was facing away from me, talking in that low, flirtatious tone I now recognized as her real voice. She turned first. Froze. Malik, she said, trying to smile like this was all explainable. What are you doing? I raised a hand and she stopped. Nico stepped forward. Yo, man, if you need something, maybe. I looked at him. Not with rage. Not with threat. Just calm calculation. I wanted to meet the man who keeps borrowing what he can't afford, I said. He blinked, not getting it at first. Then, slowly, he realized what I meant. I turned to Brielle. We'll talk later. Then to Nico again. Keep your phone charged. Something tells me you'll need a lawyer soon. I walked out without waiting for a response. I didn't need one. I'd already seen it in Nico's eyes, the shift from cocky to shaken. The first crack in their little fantasy. I wasn't coming apart. I was coming for them. 2 nights later, I cooked dinner. Brielle walked into the condo like nothing had changed, heels clicking on the hardwood, humming some pop song she probably hated but knew sounded trendy. She kicked off her shoes and smiled when she saw the setup. Candles, wine, medium-rare steak, her favorite. Well, this is a surprise, she said, tossing her purse on the couch. What's the occasion? Just figured we could use a quiet night in. She slipped into her usual rhythm, sitting at the counter while I plated the food. I've been running around all week. Wedding stuff is insane. You'd think hiring a planner would make it easier, but no, I swear they cause more chaos than they fix. I nodded. Sounds exhausting. Oh, and the Coral Gables lunch? Total bust. Venue's too small and the bridal suite smelled like mildew. That was a lie. I'd watched her dot on the map stay in Midtown for over an hour. With Nico. But I didn't say anything. We ate, made small talk. She brought up wedding color palettes and TikTok trends, and I responded like the doting fiancé she thought I still was. I let her fill the air with noise, knowing the silence would come later and it would be deafening. After dessert, she leaned back in her chair, sipping her wine. I forgot how good you were at steak, she said. It's nice when we just slow down. You've been kinda distant lately. I looked at her, smiling softly. I guess I've just had a lot on my mind. She tilted her head, watching me too carefully. Work stuff. I shrugged. Among other things. A long pause. Her smile flickered, just a bit. She knew I was giving her something different. Something measured. I leaned forward slightly, setting down my glass. You know, I said, I ran into Nico the other day. Her fork stopped midair. Really, she said, her voice a little too high. That's random. Yeah, I said. Small world. I let it sit there, just long enough to make her squirm. He seemed surprised to see me. Maybe he wasn't expecting anyone else to show up at his private gym. Brielle blinked, her mask slipping for half a second before she recovered. Oh, well. I haven't been there in forever. I said, watching her over my glass. Funny. He knew my name. She didn't respond. I smiled, slow and careful. It's amazing what people will say when they think no one's listening. I stood up, clearing the plates. Thanks for dinner, she said, quietly. I didn't answer. She was finally starting to wonder. Good. It was a Tuesday when the final piece dropped. The surveillance team delivered everything. They'd been shadowing Brielle and Nico for 2 weeks. Audio, video, even screen captures from encrypted chat apps. I sat at my office desk, blinds drawn, watching the footage like it was a training video for betrayal. They were sitting in her condo, the one she never mentioned. Nico was barefoot, lounging with a smoothie. Brielle was on her laptop, scrolling through bridal emails like this wasn't the scene of a con job. So once the wedding's done, Nico said, we let a few months pass and then we file. You get the apartment, we split his equity, and boom, Bali. Brielle didn't even hesitate. He won't fight it. That prenup's weak. I just have to play it cool a little longer. I paused the video and just stared at her face. She looked relaxed. Pleased. Like the whole thing was going exactly as planned. It almost would have been impressive if I hadn't been 10 steps ahead. By Thursday, I had everything compiled, the surveillance footage, the financial trail, the text message transcripts, the fake vendor withdrawals, the asset siphoning. All of it lined up like a prosecution board in a courtroom drama. I labeled it M. Taylor, Asset Protection and Marital Fraud, Final Package. Then I made one more call. To her lawyer. Well, technically my lawyer now. Laura Drake, the infamous divorce ninja, had returned my assistant's call with hesitation. She didn't know my name at first. When she realized who I was, she tried to stay professional. I'm under contract with Ms. Sinclair. I can't. I'm offering double, I said. Double your usual retainer, plus a bonus if we settle clean. There was a pause. Then, what are you looking for, Mr. Taylor? Her silence, I replied. Her exit. And everything she tried to steal back in my hands. The next morning, Laura flipped sides. I had her firm draft a formal breach complaint citing infidelity, premeditated fraud, and prenup misrepresentation. The infidelity clause alone nullified the asset-sharing agreement. Every penny Brielle thought she'd secured was gone the moment she kissed Nico. But I wasn't done. We also included a confidentiality clause, a non-disparagement clause, and a termination of engagement agreement that revoked her condo access and demanded return of all wedding-related assets. I sent copies to my personal legal archive and uploaded the full documentation to an external drive. Then I sat in my chair, looked out the window, and waited. Because when it comes to betrayal, silence isn't weakness, it's patience. Brielle thought she trapped me. Used my name, my trust, my future. But now? She was walking into her own ambush. I told her it was a venue walkthrough. Some last-minute surprise from the wedding planner, private, exclusive, something upscale she'd love. She was all smiles in the car, scrolling through her Pinterest board and mumbling about centerpiece colors. You've been so calm lately, she said, not looking up. I was honestly worried for a second you were getting cold feet. I smiled at the road ahead. Nope. I've just been tying up loose ends. The location was a rooftop lounge on Brickell, glass walls and soft jazz, the kind of place where power brokers closed deals over aged scotch. I'd rented out the private suite in the back, dim lighting, soundproof and outfitted with a projector. Brielle walked in ahead of me, heels echoing on marble. Wow, she breathed. This is stunning. I didn't even know this place had a private lounge. You sure the planner set this up? I shut the door behind us. Nope, I said. I did. She turned, blinking. What? I pulled out the remote and dimmed the lights. The projector flared to life. At first, it was just silence, a still image of her condo lease, her signature bold and confident at the bottom. Then came the texts. Then video. Her and Nico laughing about me. Whispering plans. Calling me the final investor. Brielle didn't speak. She didn't move. The room was dead quiet except for their voices on the speakers. And then finally, she whispered, "What is this?" I turned to face her, my voice low. This is the part where we drop the masks. She backed up slightly, her face pale now. You went through my phone? I raised an eyebrow. You went through my wallet. I stepped to the table and pulled out a folder. Here's the breach notice. Prenup voided on grounds of infidelity and financial misrepresentation. The condo? Reassigned. Wedding accounts? Emptied and closed. She swallowed hard. Malik, wait. I kept going. Your divorce attorney, Laura? She works for me now. Double retainer. She flipped fast. She's the one who helped draft this. I tapped the folder. This is a termination of engagement agreement, non-disparagement clause, and an NDA. All in one neat package. Her lips parted. No words came out. You sign it, I said, you keep your reputation intact. You don't sign, and the press finds out what you've been up to with timestamps. Malik, please, she said, finally, her voice trembling. I was scared. I didn't know if we were real. I got in too deep in it. No, I cut in. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't think I'd ever catch on. I slid the folder across the table. She didn't touch it. I'll need your keys, I said calmly. You have 48 hours to vacate the condo. Her face crumpled. You can't do this. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. I already did. She stared at the folder, breathing fast. Her hands shook as she picked up the pen. Outside, the city kept moving, completely unaware that somewhere high above it, a perfectly curated scheme was falling apart in silence. When she finally signed, I stood, folded the documents, and walked out. I didn't look back. And I didn't say goodbye. News of the breakup spread fast. We didn't make a formal announcement, we didn't need to. The wedding website disappeared. Her Pinterest boards were wiped. Her social media shifted from white florals and future misses hashtags to cryptic reposts about self-love and betrayal. She tried to spin it, of course. On Instagram, she posted a photo of herself staring at the ocean with some dramatic caption, "Sometimes you have to let go of what you thought was love to find peace." The comments were brutal. "Didn't you just call him your soulmate last week? What happened to Bali? Nico? And Nico?" He folded immediately. The moment the footage made the rounds, quietly leaked to a few choice mutual contacts, he went full PR damage control. Posted a shaky video in his car, claiming he was misled, that he'd never had romantic intentions, and that he was focused on growth right now. Brielle unfollowed him the next day. It was over between them, or maybe just too toxic to continue in public. Either way, they both lost. And me? I went back to work. I walked into headquarters the Monday after the ambush, greeted my team, and hosted an all-hands meeting where I announced a new charity partnership with a nonprofit that trains underprivileged youth in tech. The applause was real. My employees smiled for the first time in weeks, not the awkward, tight-lipped ones they gave me after the video first leaked. Real ones. I saw Naomi near the elevator afterward. She nodded at me just once. Quiet respect. Like I'd earned something back. That night, I stood alone in my apartment. No candles, no wine glasses, no wedding catalogs cluttering the counter. Just peace. Actual peace. My phone buzzed. "Brielle, can we talk?" I stared at the message. It didn't say "I'm sorry." It didn't say "I messed up." Just those 3 words, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. Didn't read the rest. I just deleted the thread and turned my phone off. She'd said I was a clueless wallet. Now she knew better. And she'd never get a second chance to prove it.